your information, I have written investigation reports that say a lot of what you're saying, just for your interests. And we do find on both sides, in case you're interested.
Well, that's simply not true. I read the Bazan decision a month ago, and I read the Human Rights Commission's view that human rights that offend people's feelings do not trump, that the freedom of speech that hurts people's feelings is subordinate to people's feelings. I read the 80-page decision by panelist Andrea Chuck, who dismisses the argument of free speech offhand in a paragraph. What you're saying, what you just said is not true.
No, I have written reports that say that.
Well, the reports, and then they go on to convictions.
Not always. No,
Were
if
you
I
in the
read a
Bazan
report
case?
dismissing it, yes, I was.
So you were part of you were part of that.
I didn't write
right?
that. I did not. I wrote an opposite view.
Well,
When things go to panel, they can go either way. But in any case, just to let you know that things can go either way. Okay?
well, for the legal record, I published these for the most offensive reasons you can imagine. And I'll leave it to your imagination.
Well, that is the test that we look at as well in Section 3 under the various case law, the R versus Taylor Supreme Court definitions of contempt and hatred and whatnot. You know, some things can be found to be extremely...
Let me be clear. My contempt is for the Human Rights Commission.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking
No,
about
that's...
how we analyze Section 3
My contempt is very deep for the Human Rights Commission.
Okay, thanks for saying that. In any case, as I'm saying, that is the analysis we use to look when we're interpreting and analyzing these cases. Are some of the, case precedents and whatnot. In other words, the standard for determining if something has crossed the line into discrimination is very high. Okay, the standard is very high. To find something is discrimination, not just offensive to some, is a high test.
That's not what the Bazan case ruled. Bazan case ruled there doesn't have to be any evidence whatsoever of a proved link between words and impact on anyone. What you're saying is not the case in Alberta. I read the Bazan decision, and there was no link between, there was no proven link between what he said and any act of discrimination, but they found him to be in violation. And what you're saying is simply not true.
That was Ms. Anderchuk's.
Yeah, that's the Human Rights Commission. It wasn't Ms. Andriachuk. She wasn't speaking for herself. She was speaking with the hammer of the state.
All I'm saying is that reports and our process can end at the report.
But
if I issue a dismissal report, that might be the end.
Yeah, it might be. Or as we just saw with Reverend Bazan, a Christian pastor who was convicted. You're unbelievable. Let's finish this up.
As
what
I said,
other
it can
you
end
have?
at various stages. That one went to panel. Sometimes they end at the report after the investigator has it. And sometimes they're dismissed because they don't meet the test of discrimination. So there are those cases.